Hello, people that know how's it doing? Today I'm talking about something I probably never said ever in any of my videos. But I suppose probably some people probably assume, they say, that I did go to speech and language therapy when I was young. I know it's hard to believe that I was ever young, but it was difficult. I'm gonna tell you why it was difficult. And I can see why, people with autism and dyslexia find it hard. I can see why, because I was in the same boat. And I might as well that's why I'm here to talk about it. Because, it's always good to understand, people's opinions and what people are true. Because it always helps, it helps people. You don't know it, but it does help people to hear stories that people do have to go to speech and language. Even people who are native English speakers have to go to speech language. That's totally fine, because everybody needs a hand. I understand people coming from other countries obviously do need language, speech and language. Obviously, that's obviously. But it was difficult. I'm not going to lie to people, because when I was in national school, I was the only person who had dyslexia, who had autism, had anything wrong with me in the class. And back when I was in the class, the teachers didn't really care much, to be honest with you. The way they looked at me with Irish, and I might as well just say the way they looked at it was just nuisance for me, and that's why they didn't bother teaching me Irish after senior reference. They didn't bother. It's not because I didn't really get an exception from the Department of Education. There was in first class, actually second class. Don't know. Can't remember the year, but it was a while ago. But just couldn't be bothered, because that's how bad it was. Like they could barely speak English, and me and a native English speaker, and obviously, Irish. I couldn't speak English. Like as much as I tried when I was younger, tried to speak Irish as much as hard as all the hours put in trying to speak Irish and everything like that. It was just pointless, because it was hard for me. As I said, like I used to have appointment 2 or 3 times a week, and you have to leave school for it. You get picked up. My parents would pick me up, and you'd be taken out to a HSC building in Cavan Town, and everybody would stare at you in the class and say, he's, more or less saying there's something wrong with this fellow. At the time, and me looking back, and you see people, and you see people just saying, no, he's different. Now that's the way they kind of phrased it back then. Instead of saying there's something wrong with you in the West, they said he's different. And that didn't help me. That didn't help me at all, because especially when I was younger, it's not that I wasn't able to speak. I was speaking here very well. Obviously, my grammar sometimes is not the best, but who is the best at it? But the thing is, looking back, and I was very disheartened for a long, long time about it. That that I had to go to speech and language, because especially because the only person in my class had to go, and I felt terrible about it, because especially me being Irish, and you couldn't speak Irish, and it was a big annoyance for me for a long, long time, and speech language itself was terrible. It was really, really terrible for me, because you went in front of somebody. Me, when I was younger, I just couldn't. Like, people did think I had autism back then, full on autism. Obviously a small bit of autism. I have a small bit of autism. But back then, it was difficult. Like, I never talked to anybody, never. I just kept to myself, and I suppose it's the way the same now. Unless somebody talks to me, now what are you gonna do? And like, back then it was terrible. Like, I couldn't speak. I couldn't. Was just too afraid, and was too annoyed, and was too upset, and it was everything. Like, when I was younger, I used to just be sick of myself, and that's really the best way of putting it. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. It was difficult having to walk out of the classroom and say, people ask you where you're going, you say you're going to get where you would try and say. Like, back then I could barely get words out of my mouth. I was that terrified of saying anything, or that nervous, and that so anxious, I suppose you could say. That just I just probably didn't even say anything. I can't remember, but people always. I'm looking back and now I remember hearing people saying, you're different. And that back for nowadays young people's words, that means you're stupid, or you're special, or whatever what they call it. Which was totally wrong. People saying that obviously you're different, because we're all different. We're all different. And it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to people. It was hard to go in front of a HC people every week and do English and trying to spell things and they're trying to teach you how to speak properly, how to do this, how to do that. And it didn't help. It didn't help, and that's to me an early sign that I obviously would suffer. Looking back now with depression and anxiety, and obviously that's what happened to me. Which was a very obvious sign from the beginning. To be honest, it was a very very obvious sign from the beginning. But the thing is, looking back, I don't know did it ever help me speech and language, and that's the thing I want to really say. I never think it really helped me. I think I learned really myself. As they say, time's the greatest healer. But I'm not going to lie to you, it was very, very difficult. It was very, very difficult. First 3 years of school in my life was very, very difficult. It was very, very hard. Especially going into these places of speech and language, especially with other children, that was very, very hard. Especially because I was desperate. Like they could, play and do things. But, I was odd, and that's the way I kind of look at myself. It was just very odd. I just, I didn't really have much of a, like I had a good imagination. Like that's something when I was younger, and I still do have a good. I can write a book. I can write literally a good book, but I can't spell words on it. I could write a good story here in 2 minutes, and it would be very good. People would be interested in it. But it's just about putting pen to paper and trying to get, there wouldn't be words to be able to spell. Like looking at a notebook here on a few things I'm said, but so half the page I can't understand because I don't know what I just randomly started squiggling because I couldn't remember what I was saying. So, and that looks terrible. Like let's be honest, that looks terrible for somebody at my age to not know half of the words he wrote down himself. But as one county councillor said to me once about something, what about it? What about it? And that's the way I look at it now, because why should you get upset about these things? Obviously I did my best when I was in speech and language. Obviously I done as much as humanly possible I could do when I was younger. To try and improve, I suppose, my language and to try and improve my speech. I'm not gonna lie, it was very, very difficult. Like nearly all my life, younger life, was to struggle nearly just to become normal, I suppose you could say. But then again, as one person said to me a few years ago, what is normal? Nobody's normal. Which is true. Everybody has something wrong with them, but we just don't see it in some people. But I look now at myself, and I suppose the reason why I want to make this and the kind of, like, people probably think I'm talking to myself here, like, but it's good, it's good to just talk about and talk to, to the wider community, I suppose, this is by addressing this too on YouTube, and it's good. It's good to, to say, I suppose, to admit things, because it has been inside me, and I always have thought about it. And it's like a weight lifted off you, I suppose you could say, because I hope that it would help somebody. Like I would say to people, never give up hope in the speech. If you are going to speech and language, never give up hope. It is difficult. I'm not gonna lie to people. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be a walk in the park, but it was difficult. It was very, very difficult for me. It wasn't because the staff wasn't nice, it was just because I was a very, very difficult child. Obviously, I was just, too annoyed and too distracted and too upset about everything. I would, like, literally, when I was younger, I would get upset over anything. And, anything, would get upset about. So it wasn't really the best, because I could never really talk to people because I would get upset about it. It was just tough. It was really, I might as well just say it was really, really tough. And, kind of eventually led to my downfall, I suppose you could say, but in 2016, but like everything, like this a progressive pattern, I suppose, like you could see the problems by just even talking about it here. I can see the cracks in my mental state forming already from then. And then, that looks terrible from back then. When I was extremely young, you could see the cracks forming. And, you could, like, look at the cracks. Like, now I have no cracks in my mental state now, thankfully. But looking back maybe a year ago, maybe even go back even 7 months ago, I can still see the cracks. I can see it in my mind. I can see the cracks, and the unstableness is, you know, the way you walk on soggy ground. You know, it's unstable. And you know, I can see myself now, and it's like I'm walking on solid ground, nothing that's wobbling at all, nothing's wobbling, which is really really good to see. But it was hard. I'm not gonna lie to people. It was very very difficult. And you know, thankfully, we got through it. I'm here now. And that's the best part. That's, at least I can laugh about it and smile about it, and I can say, you know, I've done it. I've done it. It's simple as that. We can do it, and I can do it. Of course, I done it. Well, hey, give me the tea. But you know, I have to say it's a credit to me for doing it, because it was hard. I'm not gonna, like, I can't express how hard it was. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. I know I probably rambled on for 9 hours. But you know, it kind of does take a weight making these videos, and hopefully it might help somebody. Oh, somebody went through this, and maybe I can relate to them, because that's why I do my videos too, just to, you know, just to tell people that, you know, I was in the same boat. And you know, the two of, you know, people do, like, I do admire people who are in the same boat as me, and you know, talk about it, because it's not easy to talk about. Like, it's not easy. Like, I'm looking back in the past. I'm looking straight into my heart, and I'm seeing the pain and the suffering I went through. And you know, it does tear you to bits when you're talking about it. But when you get it out, like now I feel very relieved. I'm very happy about speaking about it and then getting it out. Which is always good. Which is always good. Anyway, thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.